The ship wasn't supposed to fly. It wasn't supposed to exist, really. It was made of parts no sane engineer would touch, half cargo hauler, half junkyard dare. The outer hull was patchworked with scavenged plating. One wing had been cut from a mining drone, and the main thruster. That had been forcibly borrowed from a racing pod after its owner lost a bet and possibly 3 fingers. The cockpit was an ergonomic nightmare. Buttons mislabeled, panels duct-taped. The nav screen blinked, "Don't," but it flew, barely, and it was piloted by the worst possible life form to give flight control to, a human. Is that a joke? Admiral Searlter's voice was incredulous, his 6 eyes blinking out of sync. The holographic feed zoomed in on a ship the size of a garbage scow, trailing smoke and flipping end over end in what appeared to be a navigational panic attack. "Is this your response?" the Admiral growled. "You send us a space can with a lunatic at the helm?" General Nornak, coalition liaison, didn't blink, mostly because he lacked eyelids. "We didn't send him," he said calmly. "He just showed up." The Admiral stared harder. "What's it called?" Nornak squinted. "The SS Nope." A pause. Searlter twitched. "You're joking." "No." Inside the cockpit of the SS Nope, Rhett Maddox, 32, ex-mechanic and full-time problem, was eating something that may once have been a burrito and steering with his feet. "Computer," he said through a mouthful. "What's the status of the forward weapons?" "Offline," the ship's AI replied dryly, "as is the backup, and the targeting system, and forward thrust. So we're basically a space brick." "A brick with a grudge," the AI added. Rhett grinned. "Perfect." The ship spun again, backwards this time, smashing into a passing drone that didn't see it coming. Sparks flared. "Direct hit," the AI confirmed. "Totally accidental. Counts anyway." 3 weeks earlier, Rhett had been laughed out of a coalition hangar for suggesting his design, called the kamikaze configuration, was battle-ready. "It's not aerodynamic," said one engineer. "It's space," Rhett replied. "Nothing's aerodynamic. It has no shields. It's got stubbornness. It has a frying pan welded to the hull." "Emergency heat sink," Rhett grinned. The head of R&D passed out. Undeterred, Rhett flew it into a training zone. He clipped a target ship in reverse, blew up a decoy fleet with a misfired missile that looped around unintentionally, and somehow disabled a capital ship by ejecting a coffee pot full of thermite. He was banned from 3 sectors, but his name stuck. So did the ship. And now, unintentionally or not, they were facing a full-scale fleet blockade. The Glixi Armada controlled the outer rim. They were sleek, efficient, predictable. They ran on perfection, which meant they hated unpredictability. They watched Rhett's ship approach their line backwards, wobbling, spinning, flaring at random, and assumed it was a derelict. They laughed, openly. They even opened comms to mock it. "Unidentified vessel," one officer snorted. "You appear to be in distress, or perhaps drunk." Rhett flipped the comms on, upside down. "Both. Also, your fleet's symmetrical. That's cute. State your intent. To cause problems." The Glixi cut the channel. That was their second mistake. The first was letting him get close. The SS Nope spun past the first cruiser. The Glixi attempted a target lock, failed. The ship was moving erratically, its signature distorted by duct tape, engine exhaust, and what looked like a microwave power cell vibrating out of control. Rhett hit a panel labeled, "Do Not." The ship farted out a cloud of metal debris and exploded backward. A mine drifted out of the wreckage and detonated under the nearest destroyer. The explosion ripped through its undercarriage. The fleet blinked, then fired. Rhett cackled. "Joke's on you," he said. "I don't know how to fly forward." He jammed the throttle in reverse, and the SS Nope began its warpath. Within the hour, one cruiser collided with its own wingman trying to dodge Rhett's wild spin. A second was taken out by a reverse-launched torpedo Rhett fired using a system he swore was just the garbage chute. The flagship's targeting AI broke itself trying to track his trajectory. By the time the coalition fleet arrived, the Glixi line was scattered and in retreat. They never saw it coming, because they were watching the wrong direction. Admiral Searlter stood in silence. He watched the footage again, the backward approach, the erratic maneuvers, the sheer statistical improbability of every hit. And at the center of it all, a man grinning like a lunatic, waving out the back of a cracked viewport. "Who is that?" the Admiral muttered. Nornak smirked. "That's Rhett Maddox." "And the ship?" Nornak leaned in. "The most dangerous mistake in your career. The SS Nope wasn't designed for stealth. It wasn't designed for speed, durability, or survivability either. What it was good at, according to Rhett Maddox, was not exploding immediately, which made it his most successful project to date. After the Glixie debacle, Coalition Command tried to debrief him, tried being the key word, because when Rhett landed on the hangar deck of Coalition Station Theta 7, still in reverse by the way, he climbed out of the cockpit with his jumpsuit half-zipped, a welding torch strapped to one leg, and a mug that said, "World's okayest pilot." "Are you aware you caused a diplomatic incident?" the base officer barked, approaching with a squad of security drones. Rhett blinked. "Only one. Dang. Slipping. You destroyed 4 capital-class ships, 17 drones, and 1 interceptor, by accident." "Accident's a strong word. I prefer improvised navigation." The officer pointed at the ship. "That is a flying violation of 27 engineering codes." Rhett sipped his coffee. 29, actually. I added 2 on the way in." The officer twitched. Inside the station's war room, Admiral Tekzar of the Coalition Fleet was reviewing footage of the incident for the 3rd time. He watched the SS Nope spin backward through a cloud of enemy fire, bounce off a satellite, somehow jam a missile into another ship's intake vent using the side panel, and then reverse ram the enemy flagship's bridge before it exploded. The bridge hadn't been designed to be hit from behind. "Bring me the human," Tekzar muttered. Nornak cleared his throat. "We tried. He was last seen duct taping an oxygen hose to a coffee brewer. Claims it's for emergency steam propulsion." There was a pause. Tekzar sighed. "Fine. Bring me his ship." There was another pause. "Sir," Nornak said carefully, "his ship locked itself into the hangar by overriding the base's security AI with a Sudoku puzzle." Tekzar blinked. "You're making that up." "I wish I was." In a nearby mess hall, Rhett had assembled a small audience. Pilots, mechanics, medics, one janitor, all listening as he described how the Glixie flagship blew itself up, trying to track him while he was flying in reverse and microwaving leftover soup. "I swear," he said, "all I did was nudge the thruster and sneeze. Next thing I know, their fleet's playing bumper ships and I'm scooping hot sauce off the dashboard." A mechanic raised a hand. "How do you aim in reverse?" "You don't," Rhett said. "You just feel it in your bones." A pause. Another pilot asked, "How did you survive?" He grinned. "I didn't plan to." Word spread. Fleet-wide. Someone posted a grainy clip of the SS Nope doing a full spin, ejecting a box of metal forks that shorted out 3 enemy sensors, and then cruising backwards through a debris field while Rhett screamed, "I am the storm." It went viral. Suddenly, Rhett Maddox had fans. The Coalition tried to contain the story. Failed. The SS Nope was now a meme. Posters appeared. "Back it up, boys, the war's over. If it's not reversing, it's not fighting. Built from trash, driven by spite." And in the far reaches of space, the Glixie issued a formal advisory. Avoid rear engagement with human ships of irregular design, especially the one named Nope. They tried to reassign him to something less disruptive, which is how Rhett ended up leading a recon mission in the Gravel Moor Expanse, a region so littered with magnetic debris and gravitational instability that even drones refused to go. "This is a death trap," said his co-pilot, a nervous, fish-eyed alien named Pemmel. "I know," Rhett grinned, flipping a switch marked Hope. "Perfect terrain for us. You're going to get us killed. Only once. After that, you're invincible." Pemmel whimpered. 3 minutes into the Expanse, they were attacked by a rogue mercenary fleet. Standard tactics: encircle, flank, crush. Rhett didn't do standard. He turned the ship completely around, reversed into a cluster of debris, angled the exhaust into a magnetic field, and launched himself backwards through the fleet like a flaming pinball. One ship exploded. A second shorted out trying to scan his trajectory. The third fired, missed, and hit itself. Rhett whooped. This is what happens when you give a raccoon caffeine and a Starship license. Pemmel passed out. By the time the recon team returned, the gravel moor had a new name, Maddox Alley, and a new warning. Do not follow the human into the debris. He does not fear death. He fears boredom. By now, Rhett Maddox had become a problem. A charming, chaotic, system-breaking problem with a cult following and a ship held together by willpower and sandwich wrappers. He had no formal rank, no tactical credentials, and no sense of self-preservation. He also had the highest solo kill count in Coalition history, and did it in reverse. Admiral Texar stared at the latest mission report with the same expression one might reserve for discovering their coffee maker had joined a death cult. So he reversed into a pirate frigate, Texar said slowly, while broadcasting Earth polka music on open comms. Yes, Nornak nodded, and launched spoons at their ventilation array. Again. Texar closed his eyes. Why spoons? Apparently it causes a resonance issue in older coolant systems. And the music? He says it's psychological warfare. No one survives mentally after 2 minutes of accordion. Meanwhile, Rhett was fixing his ship's primary weapon by hitting it with a wrench and whispering affirmations. "You're a good plasma tube," he muttered. "Don't let the inspectors tell you otherwise." Kayla Rivers, recently promoted to engineering wrangler for Maddox operations, her words, not official, was making notes on a datapad. "You know," she said, "the Coalition's going to find a way to ground you. Let them try. They're scared you'll make flying in reverse. Standard." Rhett looked up, deadly serious. "Kayla, if they teach pilots to do what I do, they'll all die. This isn't training. It's instinctual stupidity combined with strategic spite. You should put that on a patch." "I already did." He pointed at his jacket. It read, "Chaos Pilot, Certified Reckless." The Glixi, now publicly humiliated and privately traumatized, were preparing retaliation. They assembled a subjugation fleet, 3 dreadnoughts, 7 cruisers, and a Class A psychic denial unit designed to preempt human unpredictability by erasing emotional signal noise before it manifested. It lasted 6 minutes. The denial unit crashed when Rhett activated his reverse drift mode and started barrel rolling backward through their perimeter while singing a song called "I'm Not Sorry, You Built Symmetry Wrong." 2 ships fired on each other by mistake. A third one exploded after misidentifying Rhett's ship orientation as incoming asteroid, and the fourth panicked when a piece of his hull plating, launched by accident, embedded itself in their command antenna. A signal was sent out shortly after. "The human is a conceptual threat. Avoid eye contact." Back on Coalition Command, the board of high-ranking officers called an emergency meeting. Topic: what do we do with Maddox? Some wanted to promote him, some wanted to exile him, one wanted to clone him, but the ethics team set itself on fire before she could finish her sentence. Commander Tull grunted. "We can't control him, but he wins." "But he wins wrong," argued another. "Right," Tull nodded, "and the enemy can't counter wrong." There was silence. Then an aide burst in, panting. "There's a new signal. Glixi Forward Bastion 6 is gone." The room froze. "What do you mean gone?" "Gone. Debris, vapor, no survivors." "What happened?" The aide paused. He backed into it. Rhett's personal log, recorded 2 hours earlier. "Okay, so I was trying to parallel park in orbit, but the thruster jammed and Gerald, the main brake, yes, I named the brake, decided today was a suggestion. Anyway, I tapped the base's hull at like, I don't know, 10% reverse thrust." Pause. "Okay, maybe 20. Another pause. There was an explosion, possibly a chain reaction, possibly a weapons depot, possibly me hitting the reactor's exhaust port with a cargo crate full of fork grenades. Kayla's voice off-screen. "You what?" Rhett. "Look, it escalated." The Coalition gave up trying to suppress the legend. Instead, they leaned into it. Rhett was assigned his own unit, not a squadron, not a command, an excuse. Official classification, Maddox Class Engagement Contingency. Definition: if all strategies fail, send Maddox. Hope he makes things worse, preferably for the enemy. He was given a ship upgrade. He refused it. Wouldn't feel right, he said. This bucket and I, we've shared trauma. Instead, he added a rear-view mirror and painted a flaming skull on the hull, in reverse. The Glixi weren't the only ones watching. Other factions took notice. Smugglers, raiders, mercs, even bounty hunters. They all wanted a piece of the human menace with the backward ship and forward-facing fury, which is why Rhett's next battle wasn't with a fleet. It was with 100 ships from 20 different factions, all trying to outmaneuver the one pilot who couldn't be tracked, because no one else could predict reverse. The Battle of Driftwell Junction was never supposed to happen. It was a neutral trade route, busy, dull, utterly unworthy of historic significance. Then someone put out a bounty, 10 million credits to anyone who can disable the SS Nope, extra if the pilot survives to explain how. 26 factions responded, bounty hunters, private militaries, pirate kings, even a culinary warship from the Sorcerian Guild showed up with a food-based plasma cannon. No one was really sure why. They formed a blockade, 87 ships, some bristling with weapons, others with enough sensors to track a sneeze across the system. And they waited, until the SS Nope dropped out of FTL, backwards, and immediately rear-ended a Glixi patrol vessel. "Okay, that one's on me," Rhett said, sipping from a mug that read, "Powered by Panic and Caffeine." Kayla, in the co-pilot seat, sighed. "There are 87 ships on sensors. Did you piss off an entire galaxy and forget to mention it?" "Possibly. What's the plan?" Rhett flipped a switch labeled Yikes Mode. "We're going to cause an accident." Outside, the fleet moved to surround the SS Nope. Easy target, minimal shielding, in reverse, definitely insane. But they made one mistake. They coordinated, and coordination requires predictability. Inside the Nope, Rhett was smiling like a man who just found gasoline at a fire sale. "Let's do this backwards." The thrusters flared. The SS Nope accelerated in reverse, into a junk field Rhett had scouted years ago. The pursuers followed. Big mistake. The ship dove between spinning wreckage with unholy precision. Left, upper, spiral, reverse U-turn, double corkscrew. The Nope scraped a satellite, ejected a cloud of bolts, and launched a burning crate of lube into a freighter's open intake. The freighter exploded in slow motion. Kayla shouted, "That was a fuel convoy." "I know," Rhett yelled back. "It was blocking my line." The pirates lost cohesion first. Their leader's ship exploded when Rhett's autopilot accidentally redirected a navigational beacon into their bridge. Several mercenary vessels followed, crashing into each other trying to avoid the burning wreckage. Then came the bounty hunters. They actually tried flanking the Nope. Rhett, grinning, reversed into a gravity buoy, spun, bounced off a piece of debris, and triggered his ship's backup thrusters, sending him slamming backward into the lead hunter at a 40-degree angle. The hulls screamed. So did the hunter. Kayla was barely hanging onto her seat. "You're flying like a blender on meth." "I call it tactical flailing. It's working." "I know." In the end, only 3 ships remained. One surrendered unconditionally. One fled after accidentally targeting itself. The last, an elite interceptor designed to predict human tactics, managed to tail the Nope through the entire battlefield without taking a hit. Then Rhett hit the brakes. Hard. The Nope slammed into reverse again, bounced off a chunk of cruiser hull, and reverse drifted directly over the interceptor's hull, sideswiping its control tower and flipping it upside down. The pilot rage quit mid-broadcast. After the battle, Driftwell Junction was declared a navigational hazard. Coalition Command tried to assess the wreckage. What they found was scattered debris, dozens of confused survivors babbling about the human boomerang, and the phrase, "I didn't even know ships could moonwalk," carved into a melted bulkhead. Back on Station Theta 7, Rhett was welcomed like a war hero. He declined the medal, took the lunch voucher instead. "You're not even surprised anymore," Kayla said, watching as a group of admirals argued whether to promote or exile him again. "I know what I am," Rhett said. "A menace? A philosophy." New recruits whispered stories of him like legends. The man who flew in reverse, the ship that couldn't die, the enemy of symmetry. Fleet instructors tried to ban his footage from training simulations. It didn't work. One cadet watched his footage and learned to dodge a torpedo with a barrel roll into a docking bay. Another disabled a drone swarm by flying sideways into it and yelling, "Maddox maneuver." The Academy released a statement, "Please stop naming disasters after him." No one listened. Soon, Rhett received another call. A planet-wide siege. Coalition troops trapped. Enemy blockade too tight to breach. Standard reinforcements failed. Orbital strikes were repelled. So Command tried something else. A private transmission, marked urgent. "They've boxed us in. We need someone who doesn't care about boxes." Rhett looked at Kayla. "Pack the duct tape," he said. "It's time to break some laws of physics." She grinned. "Reverse or bust?" "Reverse and bust." And with that, the SS Nope powered up. Backward, of course, and screamed into FTL, leaving only sparks and confusion behind. They were out of options. On the surface of Kovacs 3, coalition forces were pinned. The enemy fleet had sealed the skies, surrounding the atmosphere in layers of precision-locked weaponry, defense satellites, and interlinked battle cruisers. No supply lines, no escape. High Command called it a containment scenario. The soldiers on the ground called it screwed. Then someone picked up a signal. Not a call for help, not a fleet, just a single transmission laced with static and defiance. "Tell 'em I'm coming, in reverse." Up in orbit, Commander Veltrak of the Silexi Dominion watched his perfect fleet formation tighten its net. "Scan anomaly detected," his officer chirped. "One ship approaching at reverse trajectory. Minimal signature. No IFF Veltrak raised a brow ridge." "Speed?" "Terminal." "Class?" The sensor tech hesitated. Garbage freighter." And then, without warning, the SS Nope tore into view. Backwards, it smashed through the outer perimeter, bounced off 2 drones, and spun through an interdiction beam meant to collapse incoming FTL signatures. Veltrak lunged at the console. "Fire! Disable it!" The fleet unleashed everything, lasers, disruptors, EM spikes. All missed. The Nope slid, twirled, ricocheted like a sentient pinball of doom, trailing chaos and debris in its wake. Inside the cockpit, Rhett was chewing bubblegum and steering with his knees. "How's our hull?" he shouted. "Confused," Kayla replied, gripping a rail, "and slightly concussed." "Perfect." Down below, trapped coalition ground troops looked up as the clouds parted. They didn't see a relief fleet. They saw a flaming wreck of a ship spinning through the air like an offended frisbee. And then, victory. Because in one single maneuver, unrepeatable, unexplainable, and undeniably stupid, the Nope shot backward into a command satellite, ricocheted off it, and ploughed into the Silexi flagship's reactor bay from behind. Rhett Maddox ejected mid-spin. The ship kept going, straight through the enemy fleet. The Nope, of course, exploded. Spectacularly. Blinding white light, shockwaves, power surges that shut down the entire blockade. Half the Silexi fleet lost orientation. The other half tried to reorient and collided with their own support ships. A domino collapse of tactical perfection. Rhett landed with a thud and a grunt in a crater next to a stunned coalition trooper. The man blinked. "You just won the war. In reverse." Rhett groaned, pulling a fork from his jacket. "I told them it would work." Kayla crash-landed 3 seconds later, still strapped to a debris sled made of welded cafeteria trays. "I'm never flying with you again," she muttered, coughing smoke. "Yes, you are," Rhett wheezed. "You're the only one who can keep up." The battle became legend. No one had seen a single pilot dismantle a siege using a ship duct-taped together and powered by sheer lunacy. But everyone had seen the aftermath. The skies cleared. Troops cheered. The Nope, what little was left of it, was recovered and enshrined in Coalition Hall of Records under the title "Ship Most Likely to be Mistaken for Debris Right Before It Murders You." Rhett Maddox was offered every medal in the system. He accepted none. Instead, he requested one thing: to rebuild the Nope, with upgrades, made entirely out of scrap. When asked why, he simply replied, "Because every fleet has a front line, but only I have the rear end of destiny." And so he flew again, in reverse, through war zones, through blockades, through everything logic said he shouldn't survive. The enemy learned. Eventually, they saw a strange blip on sensors, moving the wrong way, outgunned, unshielded, wobbling like a busted shopping cart. And instead of laughing, they ran, because he was coming, the man who didn't fly by the rules, or physics, or sanity, just instinct, spite, and a ship held together by duct tape and bad ideas.